On a quiet suburban street outside Plano, Texas, two garage doors open at the same time. Inside the first garage sits a $78,000 Ford F-150 Platinum. Next to it leans a $4,200 carbon fiber mountain bike with perfectly clean tires. Against the wall stands a $3,800 Peloton bike that hasn't been used in weeks. The owner is Mark. Mark just turned 62. For 40 years, he followed every piece of financial advice he heard. Max out the 401k, avoid debt, delay Social Security, because every financial expert repeats the same rule. Wait until 70. Every year you delay benefits past your full retirement age increases your payment by about 8%. By the time Mark reaches 70, his Social Security check will be roughly $5,200 per month. A bigger number, a better strategy, at least according to the spreadsheet. 2 houses down lives Daniel. His garage looks different. A 2012 Toyota Camry sits in the driveway. A folding lawn chair leans against the wall. A simple $600 Weber charcoal grill rests beside a stack of gardening tools. Daniel also turned 62. But Daniel made a decision that financial media often calls a mistake. He claimed Social Security immediately. Instead of waiting 8 years, Daniel started collecting about $2,800 per month. Financial experts love to point out the difference. $2,800 versus $5,200. Why accept the smaller number? Why settle for less? The answer becomes clearer 8 years later. Because by the time Mark receives his first payment, Daniel has already collected 96 checks, nearly $270,000 in total income. Real money, money that paid property taxes, money that reduced withdrawals from investments, money that quietly bought something far more valuable than optimization: margin. And that is where the real Social Security conversation begins. The financial media presents Social Security as a simple rule. Wait as long as possible. The reasoning sounds logical. Delay benefits and your monthly payment increases. A benefit worth $4,000 at full retirement age could grow to about $5,200 per month by waiting until 70. That's nearly $30,000 more income every year compared with claiming early. On the surface, the decision seems obvious. Bigger check, better outcome. But that conclusion depends on several assumptions. Assumptions that quietly break down in real life. The first assumption is longevity. For most people comparing age 62 versus 70, the break-even point arrives around 80 years old. If you live past that age, delaying benefits usually wins. But if life ends earlier, the person who claimed at 62 may receive more total money, not less, more. The second assumption is cash flow stability. Waiting 8 years means surviving 8 years without that income. During that time, expenses continue. Property taxes, groceries, insurance, healthcare. Most retirees fund those years by withdrawing money from investment accounts, and every dollar withdrawn stops compounding. The third assumption is perfect health. Financial advice often assumes people can keep working until their late 60s, but millions of Americans spend their careers in physical jobs. Construction workers, nurses, factory technicians. By their early 60s, many bodies simply refuse to cooperate. Waiting becomes less of a strategy and more of a gamble. This is why the Social Security decision is widely misunderstood. It is not about maximizing a monthly check. It is about balancing 3 forces: life expectancy, cash flow timing, and opportunity cost. Once those 3 variables enter the equation, the obvious answer becomes far less obvious, and the strategy that looks smaller on paper can sometimes produce the stronger financial outcome. The biggest mistake people make with Social Security is thinking the goal is simple. Maximize the monthly check. That's what every calculator encourages. That's what every headline implies. But retirement income is not a scoreboard. It's a timing system, and timing systems behave differently from static numbers. 3 forces quietly determine whether claiming early or delaying actually works: longevity, cash flow timing, opportunity cost. Once you understand those 3 forces, the Social Security debate changes completely. Start with longevity. The system was designed around average life expectancy. If someone reaches age 62, the average American can expect to live roughly 22 more years, placing expected lifespan around 84. Because of that average, Social Security is calibrated so that early claimers and late claimers receive roughly similar lifetime totals if they live to that expected age. The system simply distributes the money differently. Claim early, and you receive smaller checks for more years. Claim later, and you receive larger checks for fewer years. The lifetime total converges around the average lifespan, but averages hide a critical truth. Half of people die before the average, half live longer, which means every Social Security strategy quietly contains a bet. A bet on how long retirement will actually last. The second force is cash flow timing. A dollar received today behaves very differently from a dollar received 8 years from now. Consider a retiree with $1 million invested in index funds. If they delay Social Security until 70, they may need to withdraw $50,000 or $60,000 per year to cover living expenses. Every withdrawal reduces the capital available for compounding. Even if markets grow, the account grows from a smaller base. Now imagine that same retiree claiming benefits at 62. A monthly payment of about $2,800 provides roughly $33,600 per year in income. Suddenly, the withdrawals from the investment portfolio shrink dramatically. More money stays invested, more money compounds, and compounding rewards time more than almost anything else in finance. The third force is opportunity cost. Money arriving earlier creates options. Money arriving later removes them. 8 years of Social Security payments can represent more than $250,000 in total income. That money can stabilize a retirement budget. It can reduce portfolio withdrawals. It can fund healthcare costs, or it can be invested. And once capital enters the system earlier, it has time to grow, which means the real Social Security question is not, how do I maximize the monthly payment? The real question is, how do I optimize the entire financial system that supports my retirement? Because once those three forces, longevity, timing, and opportunity cost, enter the equation, the decision stops looking like a rule and starts looking like a strategy. To understand the strategy, you have to look beyond monthly payments and examine total lifetime cash flow. Start with a simple example. Assume a retiree whose full retirement benefit at age 67 is $4,000 per month. If that person claims early at 62, the benefit is reduced by about 30%. The monthly payment becomes roughly $2,800 per month. Now look at the delayed strategy. If the same person waits until 70, delayed retirement credits increase the benefit to about 124% of the full amount. The payment rises to roughly $5,200 per month. That creates a large gap. $2,800 versus $5,200, a difference of about $2,400 per month, nearly $29,000 per year, which is why delaying benefits sounds so attractive. But this comparison hides a crucial detail: time. If someone claims at 62, they begin collecting immediately. By the time they turn 70, they will have received 8 full years of payments. That equals 96 monthly checks. At $2,800 per month, those early payments total roughly $268,800, almost $250,000 received before the delayed claimant collects anything. So the question becomes, when does the larger payment catch up? Financial planners call this the break-even age. For most retirees comparing 62 versus 70, the break-even point appears around 80 or 81 years old. If someone lives well beyond that age, delaying benefits usually produces more total income. But if life ends earlier, the smaller early payments may actually produce a larger lifetime total. Now add investments to the picture. Imagine a retiree with a $1.2 million portfolio invested in broad index funds. Annual spending in retirement is $60,000. If Social Security is delayed until 70, the retiree must withdraw the entire $60,000 each year from investments. But if they claim Social Security at 62, the benefit provides about $33,600 per year. Suddenly, the portfolio only needs to cover roughly $26,400. Less money leaves the portfolio. More money remains invested. Even with modest returns of 7% annually, the difference in withdrawals over 8 years can leave the portfolio well into 6 figures larger. Not because the market changed, but because cash flow timing changed the compounding equation. And that is the hidden math most retirement advice ignores. The Social Security decision doesn't operate in isolation. It interacts with investments, longevity, and income stability, which is why experienced planners rarely rely on rules of thumb. Instead, they use a framework, a small set of principles that reveal when claiming early becomes the smarter move. Once you move past headlines and retirement calculators, the Social Security decision becomes clearer. Not simple, but clearer, because experienced financial planners tend to follow a small set of practical rules. Rules that balance longevity, household income, and financial stability. Most calculators analyze one person, Real retirement involves households. Spousal benefits can reach up to 50% of the higher earner's full retirement benefit. But those benefits cannot start until the higher earner files first, which means delaying your claim can delay 2 income streams, not one. Sometimes the mathematically optimal individual strategy actually reduces total household income. Every Social Security decision contains a catch-up point. For most comparisons between 62 and 70, that break-even age lands around 80 to 81. If someone lives well beyond that age, delaying benefits usually wins. If life ends earlier, claiming early may produce more lifetime income. This isn't pessimism, it's probability management. Retirement calculators assume average life expectancy, but real life doesn't operate on averages. Family history matters, lifestyle matters, chronic conditions matter. If multiple family members passed away in their 70s, the math changes. If parents lived into their 90s, the equation changes again. Ignoring longevity doesn't eliminate the variable. It just makes the decision less informed. For retirees with limited savings, Social Security becomes the foundation of retirement. In that case, every additional dollar of guaranteed income matters. The difference between $2,800 and $5,200 per month can determine whether retirement feels stable or fragile. For these households, maximizing the monthly benefit often provides the safest long-term outcome. Retirees with significant portfolios face a different risk. Sequence of returns risk. This occurs when large withdrawals happen early in retirement while markets fluctuate. Those withdrawals permanently damage the compounding power of the portfolio. Early Social Security income can reduce those withdrawals, which allows more capital to stay invested, and compounding favors patience. Claiming at 62 provides nearly 8 additional years of income. That can exceed $250,000 in total payments before age 70. If those funds are invested effectively, the growth can sometimes rival the benefit of waiting. This strategy carries market risk, but for experienced investors, it can be a legitimate alternative. Some retirees already have income scheduled for later: a pension beginning at 65, an annuity starting at 67, rental income from property. In these cases, Social Security can act as a bridge income between retirement and those future payments, which makes claiming earlier more practical. Many careers are physically demanding: construction workers, nurses, warehouse operators. After decades of labor, continuing until 67 or 70 isn't always realistic. Social Security was created as a safety net. Using it when your body says stop isn't a failure of planning. It's the system working as intended. These rules reveal something most financial advice avoids saying directly. There is no universal claiming age. The correct decision depends on health, household structure, investment assets, and the stability of future income, which is why the real test of any strategy is not theory. It's how that strategy performs in real life. In real households, with real retirement budgets, theory sounds convincing, but retirement decisions happen in real homes with real numbers. Consider Linda and Robert, a couple living outside Columbus, Ohio. They own a 1,900 square foot ranch house that is fully paid off. Their retirement savings sit in a mix of 401(k) rollovers and index funds, totaling roughly $1.2 million. Their monthly expenses look typical: property taxes, groceries, utilities, health insurance, car maintenance. Altogether, they spend about $5,000 per month, or $60,000 per year. Now imagine 2 different Social Security strategies. Linda and Robert decide to delay benefits. For the first 8 years of retirement, their entire lifestyle must be funded by withdrawals from their investment portfolio. Each year they withdraw about $60,000. Over 8 years, that totals nearly $480,000 removed from the portfolio. Even if the market grows during those years, the compounding power of the account is reduced. Less capital remains invested, which means long-term growth slows. Now imagine a different decision. Both claim Social Security immediately at 62. Each receives about $2,800 per month. Together, that produces roughly $5,600 in monthly income, or about $67,000 per year. Suddenly, their Social Security income nearly covers their entire lifestyle. Their investment portfolio barely needs to be touched. Instead of withdrawing $60,000 annually, they withdraw almost nothing, which means the entire $1.2 million portfolio stays invested. Even with modest market returns, that difference compounds dramatically. After 8 years, the portfolio could easily be hundreds of thousands of dollars larger than in the delayed scenario. Not because Social Security paid more, but because the investment engine kept running longer. Now consider a different type of retiree, someone who plans to invest the early payments. Meet Greg, a retired software engineer in Phoenix. Greg claims Social Security at 62, receiving roughly $2,800 per month. But he doesn't spend the money. Each month, he transfers the payment into a brokerage account and buys a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Over 8 years, he invests nearly $268,800. Historically, the U.S. stock market has averaged roughly 10% annual returns over long periods. If Greg experiences returns close to that average, his invested payments could grow to around $400,000 by age 70. That portfolio may eventually rival the financial advantage of waiting for larger guaranteed benefits. This strategy involves market risk, but it demonstrates something important. Money received earlier creates options. Money received later removes them. These examples show why Social Security decisions rarely exist in isolation. They interact with investment portfolios, health realities, and household income needs, which leads to the most overlooked part of retirement planning. Not the math, but the psychology behind the decision. Because money doesn't only influence your bank account. It influences how your brain experiences risk, security, and control over the future. Retirement planning is often presented as a math problem, but humans don't experience money as equations. We experience money as security or uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers biology. When the brain senses financial instability, it releases cortisol, the hormone associated with stress and threat detection. For someone delaying Social Security until 70, the first years of retirement can quietly amplify that stress. Because income hasn't started yet, expenses still exist. Property taxes arrive every year. Insurance premiums get drafted every month. Groceries keep getting more expensive. Every dollar must come from somewhere else, usually a retirement account. And each withdrawal becomes a small psychological negotiation. Can I afford this? Should I wait another year before replacing the car? Do I need to cut back this month? The math may still favor delaying benefits, but psychologically, living with no guaranteed income can create a constant background tension, a feeling that retirement hasn't truly begun. Now imagine a different situation. A retiree claiming Social Security at 62. Every month, roughly $2,800 arrives automatically. The deposit doesn't depend on the stock market. It doesn't depend on interest rates. It doesn't depend on employment. It simply appears. That reliability changes how the brain processes risk. Uncertainty drops, cortisol drops, financial decisions become easier. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. The more financial decisions someone must make each day, the more mentally exhausting those decisions become. But stable income removes many of those decisions. When a predictable payment covers basic expenses, the retiree's mental energy shifts from survival to living. And that shift, although invisible on spreadsheets, has real value. Because retirement isn't just about maximizing dollars. It's about maximizing peace of mind. The Social Security decision should never rely on guesswork. It should follow a structured process. Start with the simplest step. Log into your Social Security Administration account. Look at the benefit estimates for 3 specific ages: 62, 67, 70. Write down the exact monthly numbers. These 3 figures form the foundation of every decision that follows. Evaluate household income. If you're married, analyze both benefits together. Remember that spousal benefits can reach up to 50% of the higher earner's full retirement benefit. Your strategy should maximize total household income, not just individual payments. Assess longevity realistically. Look at family history. How long did your parents live? Your grandparents? Then evaluate your own health. Exercise habits, chronic conditions, medical history. Longevity assumptions shape the entire strategy. Better to make those assumptions consciously. Run 3 scenarios. Claim at 62, claim at 67, claim at 70. Estimate, portfolio withdrawals, expected investment growth tax, impacts household income stability. Even a simple spreadsheet can reveal surprising results. Sometimes the strategy that appears weaker on the surface produces the strongest lifetime outcome. If the analysis feels overwhelming, consider hiring a fee-only financial planner. A single consultation may cost a few $100s, but the correct Social Security strategy can influence tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Few financial decisions carry that level of leverage. Income decisions don't just affect today. They shape the financial cycle of the next 20 or 30 years. Consider 2 retirees who both begin retirement with $900,000 invested in index funds. Their strategies create two very different feedback loops. The retiree delays Social Security until 70. For 8 years, all expenses come from the investment portfolio. Withdrawals continue, even during market downturns. If markets fall early in retirement, the portfolio shrinks faster than expected, which forces larger withdrawals later, which shrinks the portfolio even further. Financial planners call this sequence of returns risk. A few difficult market years, early in retirement, can permanently damage long-term financial stability. Now imagine the same retiree claiming benefits at 62. Monthly income begins immediately. Withdrawals from the portfolio shrink. More capital remains invested. Compounding continues. The portfolio becomes more stable. Financial stress decreases. Better financial decisions follow. The cycle reinforces itself. Small decisions early in retirement often expand into massive differences decades later. Not because of stock picking, but because of cash flow structure. Most people think wealth is visible. A larger house, a luxury SUV in the driveway, a retirement account with a bigger number. But real wealth rarely announces itself that way. Real wealth shows up in choices. The ability to leave a job that damages your health. The ability to take time off when family needs you. The ability to make decisions based on purpose instead of financial pressure. Those choices come from something simple: margin, the space between what your life requires and the resources available to support it. Social Security was never designed to make anyone wealthy. It was designed to provide stability in an uncertain world. And the timing of that stability matters. Sometimes delaying benefits until 70 produces the strongest outcome. Sometimes claiming at 62 does. The correct answer isn't universal. It depends on your health, your savings, your family structure, your tolerance for risk. Because retirement planning isn't about winning an argument with a spreadsheet. It's about building a life where money gives you control over your time, freedom from constant financial pressure, and the quiet confidence that your future doesn't depend on perfect predictions. In the end, wealth is not the size of your monthly check. Wealth is optional choices.